afternoon. We will be continuing this afternoon's lesson from where we left off. So this is a continuation of types of sentences. And so we looked at simple sentences, we looked at compound sentences, and so today we will look at another type of sentence. We also looked at independent and dependent clauses. Remember, we will try to be as interactive as we can, so we avoid using the chat so often, right?
Sure.
All right, so I still have persons entering the class. So let's just do a quick review. Can somebody just quickly tell me what they remember about simple sentences? Anybody, what do you remember about simple sentence?
They just one independent clause.
Very good. A simple sentence is one independent clause. Anybody else?
No dependent clause.
Pardon me?
It has no dependent clause.
Dependent clauses.
No dependent clause. And what are the three things that it does, or what are the three things that we look for us to know it's an independent clause or it's a simple sentence?
A subject, an action, and a complete thought.
Good. It has a subject, a verb, which is the action, and it expresses a complete thought, right? Can somebody tell me what is a compound?
It is comprised with.
All right, Natasha, Everett, you can continue speaking.
A compound sentence joins two or more independent clauses with a coordinator such as for and or.
So we have the coordinating conjunctions coming in there, right?
Yes, miss. And the coordinating conjunctions are fanboys.
Good, fanboys. And that's an easy way for us to remember them, right?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Now, who can tell me when we join two simple sentences, we need to we would always place a comma. How do we know where to put our comma? Or where do we place the comma when we're writing a compound sentence? You can tell me? Does our comma go, where is it placed? Is it placed?
Coordinator.
Go that again.
Just after your coordinating conjunction.
Very good. It's placed after a coordinating conjunction. Now we also have another method of joining two simple sentences, and that is by using what?
Semicolon.
Very good, a semicolon. And then how do we know when we use a semicolon? Because we can all just use a conjunction for all the sentences. So how do we know when we use a semicolon? When do we use a semicolon?
When the ideas are related.
Okay, Destiny, you are saying something?
No, miss.
Okay. So we use a semicolon when we have related ideas, right? Or the information is related. So we'll start with today. Today, who can guess, who can tell me what type of sentence we're looking at?
Miss, compound complex sentences.
Very good, but you have one part of it. We'll do the complex sentence, and then we'll look at compound complex, right? We're going in order. For the new persons who are with us this afternoon, I hope you enjoyed today's class. All right, so you can head up complex sentence. So today we're continuing with the types of sentences, and we will be looking at the complex sentence. Now, if we think about it, when we looked at the simple sentence, a simple sentence is an independent clause. When we looked at a compound sentence, we keep adding on, right? A compound sentence is made up of two simple sentences. So we started with simple sentence being one independent clause, a compound sentence being two independent clauses or two simple sentences. And so now we move to complex sentence. And that's why I said we move in order. As we go about this, you will understand how the structure of the sentence changes. As I said, types of sentences are known and identified based on their structure, their components, how it's made up. So a complex sentence, is made up of two independent clause and a dependent clause. Now, some things to note about a complex sentence. They say that complex sentences are fascinating components of the English language. And the reason is because when we know how to use this type of sentence properly, they add depth to our writing. Complex sentences contain an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. So let me explain this properly. A complex sentence contains an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. So a complex sentence can have more than one dependent clauses. So we'll go in order. We'll start with the complex sentences that contains an independent clause and one dependent clause. Now, complex sentences are friends and neighbors to compound sentence. Like I said, they're all related. They come from the same family, types of sentences. The only difference with a compound between a compound sentence and a complex sentence is that the compound sentence has two independent clauses. So let's start again. Simple sentences, one independent clause. A compound sentence, two independent clauses. A complex sentence, one independent clause and at least one dependent clause. So as the sentences go, we're changing up here now. Now, I'll take you to some examples. So we'll break down a few examples into the various parts so you can identify. Now, if you note, this is the main reason why I started off types of sentences by introducing you and reviewing very in-depth clauses, independent and dependent clauses, because you need to understand those two. You need to identify them, be able to identify them before you can identify a complex sentence and you can write a complex sentence. Now, we start with an independent clause, one that can stand alone. So I'm just going to highlight this bit here that I'm explaining so you can follow. Good. So we'll start with an independent clause, one that can stand alone. So we have here, Katie sipped on her cappuccino. This is an independent clause because it's a complete sentence containing a subject and a verb, and it fully expresses, or it's fully expressing an idea. So Katie sipped on her cappuccino, one independent clause. Now let's look at a dependent clause. This is just these two here are just a review and to get you thinking back about clauses, the two types of clauses. Now, a dependent clause does not express an idea. While Katie sipped on her cappuccino, although this sentence contains a subject, which is Katie, and a verb, sip, it is not a complete thought. We still need more information. Therefore, it's not a complete sentence. For example, as I told you that when you have a dependent clause, you're always left with questions. While Katie sipped her cappuccino, what happened while she did that? What was she doing something else while she was doing that? So you're asking, it's like you're left hanging as the common term that you would use, right? So we'll move on now. Please, if you're not following, or if you just want me to slow down a bit, just indicate to me.
Yeah, miss, please slow down a bit.
Slow down, so you want me to go over this part from here?
No, miss, you're alright now, but just slow down.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. All right, so now we will look at when we have the two clauses being joined together. So we have here, let me highlight what I'm explaining first. All right, so let's just backtrack a bit, just in case anybody doesn't understand and they don't want to say that. Good. So this part here is not the actual complex sentence. What I'm showing you here with these two examples is to show you how the structure of the sentence is built. So the definition says that a complex sentence is made up of an independent and at least one dependent clause. So this is just an example of an independent clause. Katie sipped on her cappuccino. And this explains what a dependent clause is while Katie sipped on her cappuccino. Now, the difference between the two, an independent clause can stand independently as a sentence because it expresses a complete thought. A dependent clause cannot stand by itself as a sentence because it does not express a complete thought. And so, now we will go to a complex sentence. So, a complex sentence is when an independent and a dependent clause is joined together. Now, they can go in any order, meaning that we can have the independent clause first, followed by the dependent clause, or the other way around. Now, the first, this is the first, let me just put in this here. So these here now that we will look at is the actual complex sentence. Remember, all notes will be sent to you after the class, right? So in the first example, we have the independent clause coming first. I will highlight the independent clause is in red. So the first example of a complex sentence here, I was snippy with him. That is our independent clause. I was snippy with him because I was running late for work. Our dependent clause is going to be in yellow. Oh, not that yellow. It will be in this color. Good. A different shade of yellow. So I was snippy with him. That is our independent clause because I was running late for work. Now let's look at our dependent clause. If we say because I was running late for work, that has us asking questions. We're left wondering, right? And that is mainly because it does not express a complete thought. However, if we look at our independent clause, I was snippy with him. This, however, expresses a complete thought. I was snippy with him. Now, let's look at, I'll just give you a minute to read this and ensure this sinks in before I go to the other example. While you're doing that, if you have any questions, if you want me to explain this over, just ask me, no problem. All right, so I take that I can move on now. I'm moving on.
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
All right, so now we'll have,
Yeah, miss.
we have another example. Let me nice this up for you. So we're looking at the same sentence, but the order of the clauses would have changed here. So we have our dependent clause coming first. Remember, they said that it does not matter the order of the clauses. It is still a complex sentence. So you can have the independent clause coming first, as in the first example here. So here we have an example where the dependent clause comes first. Because I was running late for work, I was snippy with him. So this is self-explanatory. It's the same complex sentence. The only difference is that the order of the clauses would have changed here. So you understand that? All right. Now I need to explain this part. When we looked at compound sentences, a coordinator was used. And we call those coordinating conjunctions. Now, when we're dealing with complex sentence, another type of coordinator is used, but we call conjunction, but we call these subordinating conjunctions. And so I'll explain this to you, and then I have a very nice activity planned for us. So to connect independent and dependent clauses, you need a subordinating conjunctions, like after, while, or since. If the dependent clause comes first, you need to separate the clause with the two clauses with a comma. So we'll go back to our sentences. Because I was snippy with him, I'm going to underline our conjunction here. This is our conjunction. So this is our subordinating conjunction. When the independent clause it comes first in the sentence, you don't need to use a comma. But they're saying when you have your independent clause at first, at first, you need to use a comma. So because I was running late, your subordinating conjunction is the first word. You have to join the two clauses with a comma. And so this is why sometimes when you write short stories, you want to know, how is it that I missed a comma there? I didn't know I have to have a comma there. Why is it that Miss put this word here? And so it's basically structure. That is where you sometimes you get marked down for its organization and sentence construction, structure of your sentences. All right, so this is what I'll do. To ensure I have my recording, I'll end this here now. I'll save my recording and then I'll just hint to you in the group. We log in back for our quick activity.